Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our New Year Calendars franchise mode here in NHL 25. So, in last episode, if you did not catch it, we took on the Washington Capitals in the second round, and we managed to beat them in a very hard-fought 7-game series. Now, this series was kind of one that we should have won a little bit sooner just because of the fact we took an early series lead. However, it ended up going all the way back to a Game 7, but we managed to prevail. So, as you can see, the first two games, 4-2 win, 5-2 win, pretty decisive, I would say. Pretty close still games based on that. But then we lost in overtime and then got back into series. However, we did respond with a 3-1 victory. So at that point, we were still not allowing more than 2 goals against per game pretty much for the most part. And we were up 3-1. We had one win away from the conference finals. However, they managed to bounce back with 2 games where they won by 1 goal. So I was at that point, I was like, I don't think we're going to win in 7 games. However, we managed to win in Game 7 doing our same defensive style where we just don't allow that much goals, and we end up winning by 1 goal in that one. So it was a pretty tight series. Washington definitely could have beat us, but we managed to beat them. And now we have to take on a very tough Toronto Maple Leafs team in the conference finals if we want a chance to get to that Stanley Cup finals. Now, Toronto was one of the best teams in the league, going 60-20-2 this season, which is absolutely insane. So they are definitely a much better threat than the Capitals were to us. If we go to the entire league, they actually did win the President's Trophy with 122 points. You can see we were number 5 with 109. So both of us were pretty good teams, but Toronto just knocked out the Florida Panthers, who were also one of the best teams in the league. So yeah, Toronto just has a very good built-up roster, and it's going to be very tough to contain them. They definitely had the better offense during the regular season. They were actually tied with us defensively during the regular season, which is kind of an interesting note. So both teams have pretty consistent goaltending. They were better on the power play, and you could see that we were better on the penalty kills. So we're a better defensively structured team. They're a better offensively structured team, but they're also very good in the defensive side of things too. So, yeah, definitely going to be a close matchup, I would say, for sure. But it's definitely going to be, I think, a little bit tougher for us just because we do not have the star power that they do. Obviously, they still have like guys like Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares. Like, they have definitely some really good studs on that roster. If we go over to view lines here, I'll show you guys what they're looking like again. But yeah, they definitely have a lot more high-end players than us. We're definitely more of a balanced team in a sense. But you can see this is their forward group, and you can see that they definitely have a lot of strength on the right side. Down the middle, they have a lot of strength. On the left side, it's a little bit on the weaker side of things because I wouldn't say Jarn Krok's second line left winger, but he is been playing pretty good with those guys, 8 points in 11 games. So yeah, they definitely have the depth scoring. Also, Nick Robertson being a fourth line guy has been really, really good. So we got to watch out for, I feel like, the fourth line a little bit. And obviously, we got to contain that top 6 if we want to have a chance to win. From a defensive standpoint, you can see that they're still pretty balanced and their defensive core is really good. And then they have the good goaltending as well with Woll and Murray. So it's definitely going to be a tough task for our team to be able to beat guys like Matthews, Marner, Tavares, Nylander. But I think, obviously, it's going to be a nice chance for our team to try and prove that they're actually a cup contender. But anyways, before we get into this conference finals matchup, let's get into your guys' comments and see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we will get into round number 3 as we look to get 4 more wins and get ourselves to a Stanley Cup Finals, which would either be against Utah or the Dallas Stars. So the first comment is from Nick Bucker, Barons OC, who says, cup time, and let's hope so. I don't know necessarily if we're going to be able to knock out the Leafs, because I feel like the Leafs do win a lot of cups early in franchise mode, so I feel like the Leafs are definitely going to be the favorite and have a higher chance to win the Stanley Cup this year than anybody else. However, if we do manage to beat them, are we the favorite? I honestly don't know how good Utah is at this point, or Dallas. I would assume Dallas is pretty good. Utah could be a little bit of a mixed bag, but I definitely think Toronto is the favorite here going forward. Like, I feel like it could be a Toronto-Dallas Cup Finals if we are to lose. In the last and final comments from Sound Taco says, the key will be containing Toronto's top 6, which will be a tall order. And yeah, that's my thoughts exactly as well. Like, that top 6 is probably the best top 6 in the league, my guess, at this point in this franchise mode. And it's definitely going to be tough to contain when they won 60 games during the season. Like, definitely that's a historic team right there. And I don't remember if they won a Stanley Cup recently. I could take a look at that, I guess, because if I go to the player stats and see how much cups like Auston Matthews has, I should be able to tell if Toronto's won a cup or not in this series at this point. I don't think they have, but I could be wrong. No. Okay, so yeah, Auston Matthews has no cup so far, so the Leafs are still looking for their first Stanley Cup win. And of course, going up against former captain of the Islanders, John Tavares, this is going to make for an interesting series as well. Hopefully, we could beat him, because obviously it's been a long time now since he's been a New York Islander, but when he left the Islanders, obviously a lot of Islanders fans were not very happy about that. Damn, that was 2017-18. That's close, like 7 years ago. That's crazy that it's been that long since he left the New York Islanders. Damn, okay. But I do remember, at least when I was doing my Islanders franchise mode back in NHL 17, I remember he was actually still on the Islanders at that point. So it kind of makes for an interesting matchup for our first ever conference finals in the series. So let's get into this and see if we could take out the Leafs. We're going to keep our roster. Actually, maybe I should get Duclair back in, because I did scratch him on Game 7. That's one thing I forgot to mention. But I probably should throw him back in just for the start of the series at least. He needs to really get going, though, because he has been pretty dreadful. But I am going to throw him back in instead of Liam Foudy. So we'll get Duclair back on here. And now he'll be back on that third line. I don't remember if he has power play time. Does he have power play time? Let's see. Okay, yeah, he does. Okay, that's good. Wasn't too sure if he had power play time or not. So he will be back on the power play and all that stuff. Again, he's only got the 1 goal, 1 assist through 11 games. So I definitely need a lot more out of Anthony Duclair in this matchup. Like, he needs to prove himself, or else he might be getting dealt away in the offseason if we need to free up cap space and we have other guys we could put in that spot. But we aren't going to worry about the offseason too much right now, because obviously we want to get to that Stanley Cup Finals. So anyways, game number 1 in Toronto, because of course we don't have home ice advantage in the series, but let's see if we can win some games on the road, get some good goaltending from Sorokin, and hopefully our offense could do a decent job as well. First period, game number 1. 1-0 us. Good start. Anthony Duclair. I feel like when you take a player that out of the lineup and then you put him right back in, for some reason they have a higher chance of scoring once they're thrown in the lineup, because Duclair, like I said, hasn't done anything whatsoever, really. 1 goal in 11 games, only 2 points. He scores a power play goal to open the scoring in the conference finals. That's a very good way to start off for Duclair. Hopefully that fires him up more. Hopefully he gets momentum going forward and can score some more goals too. But shots are 13-10 in favor of us. It's a 1-0 game. Can we get some insurance in the second period? Second period. 2-0 us. Adam Pelech. Okay. We're getting some goals from guys that aren't normally scoring. Pelech's not a huge goal scorer either. Shots are 24-20 in favor of the Leafs. We're up by a pair of goals. We're down to the final 20 minutes of this first period, our first game, I meant to say, not first period. Can we lock it down and take game 1 in Toronto? Come on, boys. Just get one more goal to make it a little bit more safe, just because obviously we know they have the offensive capability. And of course, former Islander John Tavares gets on the board. Who else would it be? Who else would it be? Come on, guys. Got to lock it down. Adam Pelech again. What is with Adam Pelech and 2 goals in his first game? Okay. Pelech with 2 goals, and that's huge for our confidence. Romanov, the empty netter. We got 3 goals from our defensive core, and we're going to take game 1 in Toronto. That's a very good statement. First win in this conference finals. Really like that performance from the team. And once again, Sorokin makes 31 of 32 as we win 4-1. Let's go. Let's freaking go. So Duclair from Vetrano and Gustafsson. Then we had Pelech from Holmstrom and Sorokin. What's with Ilya Sorokin also in picking a playoff assist? Because he's now got, like, I think 5 playoff assists in the last 2 years. And he's been playing like a machine in this playoff run. Like, he's definitely, I think, our MVP of this playoffs, other than, like, Noah Dobson, those type of guys. Adam Pelech then gets his second in the night, only third of the playoffs from Cizikas and Frundell. And then Romanov, the empty net goal from Holmstrom and Parson. And, like, Pelech and Romanov both have 3+ goals, which is interesting because those type of guys, to me, aren't really good goal-scoring defenders. So, yeah, very good with that. Pollock was a +2 in that, which is good considering that he was the only minus defenseman, I think, after the second round, if I remember right. So, good to see him on the positive side of things. And, yeah, Sorokin, the first star of the game. Pelech, the second star. Simon Holmstrom, the third star. It's really nice to see that other lines step up on our team, because one thing for Toronto is they're kind of very heavily reliant on their top 6 for the most part, and that fourth line. Their third line is pretty abysmal, and that maybe is how we took advantage of them in that first game, but we kind of are more of a balanced team. We get goals from our top line, from our second line sometimes from our third or fourth line, and then everybody on the defensive core seems to pitch in too. Like, even Sorokin's picking up assists, so we're kind of the team that could utilize anybody on our roster. Meanwhile, Toronto kind of has to rely heavily on like guys like Auston Matthews to kind of lead the way. So if we could contain those top 6 players, like Sanataku was mentioning and like I was mentioning, then we definitely have a good chance of winning the series. So anyways, we're going to definitely keep the team the same for game number 2. Hopefully we could take both games in Toronto because that would be a fantastic way to start off this conference finals. Let's see what happens here. Come on, boys. Just keep on trucking. That was only the 4th loss Toronto's had in the playoffs as well. First period of game 2. 2-1 Toronto, so they do get their offense going a little bit there. OEL opens the scoring quite early on. Bo Horvat answers back literally like a minute later pretty much for the most part, and that's good to see on the power play. But then we give up a shorthanded goal 3 minutes later from John Tavares. So John Tavares has been the best Leaf so far early on, which is not a great sign. Shots are even 13-13, but it's a 2-1 game for the Leafs. Sorokin kind of did this same type of thing against the Caps where he'd have like a lot of first periods where he allowed 2 goals, but then he finds himself a bit. So I'm hoping that this is one of those games where he plays like a brick for the rest of the game and then our offense somehow creeps back into the game. So can we find a way to tie this game up in a second period? Second period. 3-1 Leafs. Oh boy, William Nylander's on the board. That's not great. So Nylander and that second line has been the best line for Leafs so far, which is not great. Shots are 28-18, so they're definitely outplaying us in this one. And we're down by a pair of goals. We need to find a way to get an early goal if we want to get back into this game in this third period, because obviously if there's like 10 minutes left and we're still down 3-1, there's a high chance we're going to end up losing this game. So can we start to claw back into it? Let's see what happens in period 3. Can we get an early goal to give us some confidence to get back into it? Frank Vetrano pulls us within 1. Let's go, Frankie V and Ryan Pollock. That's what I called for. David Gustafsson. That's exactly what I called for. A Leafs collapse. They were up 3-1. We scored 3 goals in the first 5 minutes of the third period, and we have the lead. Can we lock it down? William Dufour, 5-3 Islanders. And the Leafs have another collapse in their bag, and we win 6-3 as Pelech gets the empty net goal. He's got 3 goals in the conference finals. What a third period from this team. We all got outshot 39-35, so Sorokin managed to pick it up quite a bit in that third period when it mattered most, and our offense came through with some big goals. I did say we needed goals early on, and Frankie V and Ryan Pollock answer for us and do that. David Gustafsson gets on the board. He hasn't been that great of a goal scorer so far in the playoffs, but that's a big goal from him. William Dufour pitching in with a goal as well from a fourth line perspective. Pelech scoring. Like, that's what I mean. We literally have the depth that they don't really. Like, they do have the depth based on overall ratings, but they do not have the depth scoring that we do, I think. And that might give us a huge win. So Horvat from Barzal and Bjorkstrand, Vetrano from Dobson and Bjorkstrand, Pollock from Bolduc and Parson, and that's Pollock's first goal of the playoffs. Gustafsson's second from Parson and Dobson, Dufour's second from Parson and Pollock, and Pelech from Duclair. Let's friggin' go. We haven't even seen like a Matt Barzal goal in this conference finals yet. The Leafs had like literally the first 2 stars again. They technically should have probably won that game, but Parsons' 3 assists. That's pretty damn impressive for a guy that literally doesn't pick up a lot of points and was brought in free agency. So, yeah, Parson was a +3 in that game with Dufour and Gustafsson. So, those 3 guys, absolutely fantastic, considering they all averaged under 8 minutes a game, or roll 8-14 is the highest. That's really good to see. We just definitely need guys like that to chip in here and there. And then Dobson picking up 2 assists as well in 30 minutes is great. And yeah, Sorokin, another good save percentage. So with that, we have taken both games in Toronto, and we're 2 wins away from somehow going to the Stanley Cup Finals and knocking out the President's Trophy winning Toronto Maple Leafs. So Utah's up 2-0 on Dallas right now. Interesting. I wonder what Utah's looking like at this point, though, because I feel like they probably have like Logan Cooley still, Dylan Guenther, Matthias Michelli, like those type of guys. Like, I'm kind of surprised that they're going this far this early on, but at the same time, I'm not really, because I know that they have a really good prospect pool that came over from Arizona. So we have a 2-0 series lead. We're going to keep the team the exact same, because that third period was probably the best third period we've seen this team play. So the question is now, are we going to be able to win on home ice? Because obviously there's sometimes that trend where the home team doesn't win all the way until Game 7, which if that's the case, the Leafs would end up beating us, which hopefully isn't the case. So can we take some games on home ice and beat the Leafs? Let's see what happens in game number 3. See if we can build off that third period of last game. And maybe we can get guys like Horvat and stuff scoring a little bit more consistently. First period, game number 3. 1-1, I'll take it. William Nylander opens the scoring for them on the power play, so that's back-to-back games with Nylander scoring. But yeah, Nylander and Tavares have definitely been the best Leafs so far. Like, Auston Matthews is nowhere really in the series in terms of goal scoring. I don't know about assists. We could definitely take a look at some of the Leafs player stats if we end up beating them, but Matt Barzal does tie the game up for us, so good to see him on the board here. Shots are 11-5 in favor of us. It's a 1-1 game. Not the best start for Sorokin, but I know he can find himself going forward. Let's see what happens in the second period, see if it could grab that lead. Second period, 2-1 us. Let's go. David Gustafsson scores his second goal of the playoffs. The great thing about Gustafsson, he was a waiver claim last season. And since then, he has been now kind of like a staple bottom 6 player for us. He's got 2 goals in this conference finals. And we're up 2-1, outshooting them 23-10. We are outplaying them quite crazily. Like, the fact that they only have 10 shots on goal after 2 periods is kind of crazy with the star power they have. Because you would think at least multiple of those shots are from their top 6 players or somebody like Auston Matthews. But we are definitely doing a great job at containing that top 6 quite a bit. Except for Tavares and Nylander. Like, it seems like Matthews is just not getting enough going for him. Mitch Marner hasn't done much against us. So, really liking the way we're playing against that top 6 so far in the series. Let's see what happens in this third period. See if we can get insurance to lock this one down. Let's see what happens. Come on, boys. Get some insurance. Let's go, Duclair. Let's go. Back in the lineup, scoring goals. Love to see it. And he scores again. Yeah, Duclair's starting to heat up. Definitely was a good idea to put him back in the lineup. He's got 3 goals in this series. William Dufour picks up his second goal of the series. And your New York Islanders are literally going to be 1 win away from the Stanley Cup Finals, as we are now up 3-0 on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they only had 18 shots on goal in that game. So that is a very beautiful effort. Great defense, didn't allow anything hardly. We had 40 shots on goal. We scored 5 goals. This New York Islanders team is cooking. And just like that, we're 1 win away from that Stanley Cup Finals against potentially Utah. We'll see. Barzal from Frundell, Gustafsson from Mayfield and Parsonen, Duclair from Holmstrom and Pelech, Duclair from Holmstrom and Cizikas, and Dufour from Parsonen. The bottom 6 has really done well in the series. Like, they've actually outperformed, I think, the top 6, which is kind of weird. Like, that 4th line with Parsonen on it has been good. And then, like, guys like Holmstrom and Duclair have been good. Like, it's definitely been a bottom 6 effort in the series, which is kind of surprising. Like, I was expecting guys like Brock Nelson, Oliver Bjorkstrand, Frank Vetrano to be scoring consistently. But for the most part, we're relying definitely on the bottom 6. Like, Horvat didn't even have a goal. So that's rather impressive. I do want to see the Leafs shots in that game, though. Yeah, their top 6 is having a really rough time. That Tavares line obviously has been the best offensive line, but Nylander, Tavares, Domi were all -4. Riley and Liljegren were -3. And then Auston Matthews had an assist in that game, but he had no shots on goal, which is a huge loss for them. Marner had only 1 shot on goal, so the 2 of those guys didn't really generate enough. They did pick up a point each, but they definitely did not do well for the Leafs. And then first star of the game, Anthony Duclair. From scratch to first star of the game. Love to see it. And then Holmstrom second star with 2 assists again. That's his 2nd time already in this series. And Gustafsson the 3rd star. I like the way we're dominating so far, but I feel a little bit skeptical that we're up 3-0 on them. And, well, I didn't realize this. Alex Romanov has been injured with injured groin. What the hell does that mean? I have no idea. Maybe he took a slap shot to the balls, something like that. But Romanov is going to be out. And that's a pretty substantial loss for our defensive core. Romanov has been good so far. He will be back, I believe, for the Cup Finals if we get there. But that's a pretty big loss. That means Troy Stecher is going to draw into the playoff lineup, which is a bit of an interesting one. I mean, he was actually really good for us with Dobson during the regular season, so we might actually just keep him where he was, because he had 4 points in 7 games and he was a +5. So, yeah, I think I might honestly keep Troy Stecher on that top pairing and keep Pollock and Pelech together, keep that top 6 pairing together. Might as well, right? Like, our defensive structure has been good, but losing Romanov is kind of a huge loss. He has only 4 goals in 15 games, but he's +12 playing next to Noah Dobson. So, Let's hope that Troy Stecher could do what he did during the regular season with us on that pairing until he is back, I guess. Yeah, we're probably just going to keep the rest of that the same. But we are 1 win away. Same with Utah. They're 1 win away from sweeping the Dallas Stars. So Utah is definitely a surprising team to me right now. And we are 1 win away from knocking out a 60-win team. Pretty damn impressive. So I think we got to honestly keep the team the same because we've been playing good in every single area. If obviously we lose multiple games in a row, then we might make some adjustments. But the fact that we've literally played good against them in all 3 games, I'm definitely keeping the team the same. Like, we scored 4 goals in the first game. We scored 6 in the second game, 5 in the third game. So we've already scored a total of 15 goals in 3 games. And we've only allowed a total of 5 goals. So we're scoring 3 times more goals than the Leafs right now. We definitely have been the way better team. And now we just need to find one more win, and we could get ourselves to a cup finals. So without further ado, let's get to game 4. Can we pull off the sweep on the Leafs and go to the Stanley Cup finals against likely Utah if that's the case? First period, game 4. 2-0 Islanders. Duclair and Dobson. Let's freaking go. Dobson scoring on the power play. Duclair has been very good in this series, and that's exactly what I kind of wanted from him when I put him back in the lineup. Like, I wanted to see him starting to score a bit. He still could be on the trading block in the offseason, but obviously I'm not going to worry about the offseason right now. Shots are 12-8 in favor of us. We're up by a pair of goals. Joseph Woll has definitely not been as good against us as he was in the early stages of the playoffs. Can we find some way to make sure this lead stays intact going into the third? Second period. Yikes. Okay, that's a little bit scary. Nylander and Matthews scores his first goal of the series. He has been very quiet. But Matt Barzal scores for us. So we do have a 1-goal lead, but they did score 2 goals in that period. So I am a little bit scared that they could somehow beat us in this game. Hopefully not. Shots are 22-21 in favor of the Leafs, so they are outplaying us right now, but we are up by 1 goal. We need some insurance because we can't just run with a 1-goal lead for the rest of the game. I know we are a good defensive team, good goaltending team, but still the Leafs have an offensive punch that is definitely a lot better than the Washington Capitals and all that. Can we lock this game down in the third period? If we have a chance to advance to the Cup Finals, maybe we'll watch us celebrate with the Eastern Conference thing, but let's see what happens. See if we can get some insurance here and lock down game 4. Come on, guys. Just get a goal or 2 and make me feel safer. I believe in you. We have the offensive punch. Matthews scores again. He has arrived a bit, which is not great as this game is tied up here. Final few minutes here in game 4. Power play opportunity for us. We do not score on it. Penalty kill late in the game. Do not take penalties against that team. But we killed it off. We're going to overtime in game 4. Normally I would intervene to try and watch this just in case we do advance to the Cup Finals. But if we lose this game, it would be for no reason. So I don't think I'm going to jump in here just because of that. Actually, I feel like I should jump in because it's an overtime game. But we're up 3-0. Should I jump in? Let's see. Yeah, you know what? We'll jump in. Sure. Because you guys probably want to see this team on the ice anyways. So we're 1 goal away from the Stanley Cup Finals, so we might as well watch and see what this team's able to do. See if we can knock out those Leafs. Knock out Auston Matthews, who looks like a friggin' walrus with his mustache. We'll see if we can get it done here. Let's jump in, see what we can do. And I'm going to have to press pause because I forgot to turn off the music again. Because usually when I watch AI versus AI gameplay, I like having the music on. So let's just turn off the music again. I don't know if even I have game audio on right now, but better safe than sorry. And turning off the arena music because don't need to get any DMCAs or whatever the heck you call them. So there you go. Okay, here we go. 1 goal away from the Stanley Cup Finals. Can we find it on home ice? It would be a historic goal to see it on home ice too. At UBS Arena. Here is Horvat. Finds Anton Frundell. He finds Barzal the Frundell and he scores right away. What the hell is that? Okay, that was way quicker than anticipated. Anton Frundell. And nobody celebrating off the bench, but the New York Islanders will be going to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2027. The Leafs getting swept by us. That was absolutely quick. I did not expect that because sometimes when we jump in these overtimes, they last for quite a while, but that was probably the quickest overtime goal I've seen as the Leafs get knocked out in the conference finals and have no cup still to show for it. Let's friggin' go. Anton Frundell. That's a huge goal from the youngster. There is Sorokin and Joseph Woll. And there is Captain Brock Nelson. I didn't even realize he was our captain, but still, he ends up getting the Prince of Wales trophy. Let's friggin' go. That was a huge goal. It was so quick, too. We just moved the puck around them so good, and they left Frundell wide open in the slot. Let's go, man. Absolutely huge performance there. Huge goal. Didn't expect it, like I said, to happen that quick, but literally right off the face-offs, it's a tie-up. And then Barzal comes in to try to steal it, ends up losing it. It pinballs around. He then gets it over to Horvat. Horvat walks in with it, finds Frundell. Frundell, with a smart play here, he knows that he's going to get hit. He drops it back over to Barzal. Barzal then walks in, finds it right back to Frundell in a terrible position by Auston Matthews and by also Liljegren. And they end up leaving Frundell wide open. I don't know what the hell Morgan Riley's doing, but he's the guy that's way over here behind my head. But very bad positioning for some of these guys. They leave Frundell wide open in the slot, and then Joseph Woll can't make the save. And Anton Frundell sends us to the Stanley Cup Finals. The guy that was literally just drafted last year. Absolutely huge. Let's just get a nice little picture of the back of Frundell, because this guy is literally the future of this team, and he's showing himself really nicely here in the playoffs. So there we have it. The conference finals is done. So Matthews was third star in the game, had both goals, or 2 of the 3 goals for the Leafs. Barzal, the second star, had 3 points in that game. Big performance from Matty B. And then the first star of the game, I don't know who it's going to go to. Who is it going to go to? Bo Horvat. 4 assists for Bo in that game. Damn. Shout out to Bo. So the top line came through in a huge game, which is nice to see. Let's freaking go. And yeah, solid game from Sorokin. Not the best game on paper for him, but he did face 34 shots. So now we are headed to the Stanley Cup Finals. The question is, are we going to play Utah? Because they were up 3-0 in their series. Is Dallas survived? Yes, they have. Okay, so we have not had a determined cup winner yet. Or a cup finalist yet, I should say. Alright, sorry about that. I had to post the Albuquerque episode because I am recording a little bit earlier than 11 o'clock. So, anyways, that was a nice little win. Let's take a look at our player stats from that conference finals matchup, and then we'll see who we end up playing in the cup finals. Is Dallas going to come back from 0-3, or is Utah going to be able to close them out? That's going to be interesting. Regardless, this is going to be the first team we've ever played in the Cup Finals. But let's take a look at what we got here. This is the first time, I guess, the Islanders have been in the Cup Finals since 1980s, I guess. It's kind of insane. But anyways, here is our player stats. Barzal's over point per game. Same with Bo. Both of them on 17 points through 16 games. Fantastic. Brock Nelson was quite quiet in that series, but he definitely was really good against the Caps, so no problems with that. Parsonen's on 9 points. Holy crap, okay. So Juuso Parssinen, not the best offensive player during the regular season with us. 24 points. He has 9 points in the playoffs. Like that. He's had a couple multi-assist games and all that. Cizikas on 6 points. No goals so far for him, which is kind of surprising. And we had Gustafsson on 4 points. He had multiple goals in that series. Liam Foudy, nothing in 1 game, but that's okay. Left wing side of things, Frundell on 11 points through 16 games. Big game-winning goal from him. He's up to 2 game winners in the playoffs. We have Duclair on 7 points and 5 goals, so he had a fantastic series, scoring 4 goals and 1 assist. So absolutely big from Anthony Duclair. Right wing side of things, Bjorkstrand on 13 points through 16 games. Holmstrom on 10 points. Multiple assist games as well for him. Frank Vitrano on 9 points is pretty solid. A little bit quiet, but that's okay. Dufour on 3 goals is great for a third liner. So really like the way our offense is playing. Literally, we got goals from everybody on our forward group in this playoff run, except for Cizikas. And then I technically Foudy, but Foudy only played the 1 game. So I'd like to see Casey Cizikas score a goal in the Cup Finals if he can. From a defensive standpoint, Dobson's up to 19 points and a plus 15. He's been great. Pelech on 6 points plus 7. Pollock on 6 points plus 2. Romanov has obviously the 15 games because of his injury. 4 goals and a plus 12. Mayfield on 4 assists is even good, plus 1. Bolduc on 2 assists, plus 3. And Stetcher in that game didn't do anything except for having 2 shots on goal. That's okay. Goaltending-wise, Sorokin is rocking a .932 save percentage, so he has been a beast. I don't think he's going to win the Conn Smythe if we win the Cup still, because for some reason they always give it to a forward or a defender. So I think right now Our favorite on the team for potentially winning it might be Barzal or Horvat. Yeah, it's maybe Barzal or Horvat or Dobson. That would be the favorite. If they do give it to Sorokin, he deserves it as well. 3 assists in the playoffs. Like, how does this guy pick up so much playoff points as a goalie? It's really weird. Like, during the regular season the last 2 years, he only has 2 assists. But if we chip on over to the playoffs, you can see he's got 5 assists in the last 2 years. So, he's been helping with their offense too, which is pretty damn impressive. So, I think he should definitely win the Conn Smythe if we win the Cup. But I feel like they're going to give it to Noah Dobson just because he's been great defensively and offensively as well. So, anyways, the question now is, who are we playing in the Cup Finals? Is it going to be Utah like it looks like, or is it going to somehow be the Dallas Stars? Let's see. Will Dallas survive another day? Will they survive another day? Yes, they will. They are first to Game 6. Ooh, if Dallas reverse sweeps Utah, oh my goodness, they're going to a Game 7. Dallas somehow has won 3 straight games. Is Utah going to collapse in the conference finals worse than the Leafs did, technically? And Romanov is back and fully healed for the Stanley Cup Finals, so that's huge. That is huge. So, unfortunately, we won't get to see any more of Troy Stecher in the playoffs, but that's okay. Having Romanov back is great for the defensive side of things, so that's really nice to see. Who is it going to be in the Cup Finals? It will be... Actually, we have a conversation with our coach first before the Cup Finals, which is interesting. What does he got to say? We set out to make the Stanley Cup Finals this season, and we've done it. This team is ready to compete for the ultimate prize. Perfect. Let's get it going. Let's get it going, Malachi. And it will be the Dallas Stars. Oh, my goodness. The fact that they reverse sweeped Utah in the conference finals, I feel a little bit scared now going into this Cup Finals. They were only 38, 33, and 11 during the season, yet they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. That's also kind of scary, but... Wow, what a run for them at the end of that. Like, they literally were down at this point. Yeah, they were down 0-3 in this conference finals. They lost 3-2, 3-2, and 6-4. At that point, they were like, yeah, we're probably going to be eliminated. But then they win 4-2, 4-2 again, 5-4, and 4-1. And now they have to face us in the Stanley Cup Finals. Wow. What a comeback from the Dallas Stars. I feel like they definitely have a better roster than their record indicates. They were also 6-1-3 going into the playoffs, so that helped them clinch, I guess. But let's take a look at what Dallas did during the regular season and also what they've done during the playoffs. Then we'll take a look at the roster on paper. So, if we head on over to, let's just go entire league. Where did Dallas finish? They're probably one of the worst teams that made the playoffs, right? Yes, they were. Actually not the worst. The worst was the San Jose Sharks. But Dallas was pretty good offensively, 3.02. Not as good as some teams, I guess, but they allowed more goals than they scored, so that's a little bit scary. Their power play was and their penalty kill was okay. Yeah, I feel like they're going to be kind of like, technically they're a cheese team, but they have a better roster than probably a cheese team, I guess. They probably have like a lot of good center depth, guys like Logan Stankoven and all that, right? But you can see so far, both of us are 12-4 in the playoffs. We've been scoring more goals per game and better defensively so far. We've also been better on the power play, and we've been better on the penalty kill. So technically, we should have the upper hand, but they have been great on the road. And basically, we have records flipped on home ice and the road, which is interesting. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. We're 7-3. Okay. The real question is, what is Dallas looking like at this point in time? And they probably have a similar roster to what they do in real life right now, my guess, but they could have some new faces there as well. So here is the Dallas Stars. Jason Robertson, Rupe Hintz, Mason Marchment. Really good top line. Not as good as the Leafs top line technically, but still really solid. Second line, Logan Stankoven, Wyatt Johnson, and Matt Duchene still playing at 36. Pretty damn good second line. The only weakness I would say is a bit Matt Duchene, but Matt Duchene is really good still, even if he's a lower overall. Like, he's definitely has the offensive capabilities, so he's probably not as weak as what Toronto had with Yarncroke being the second line left winger, but still, that's interesting. Third line, Sam Steele. Morgan Frost is in Dallas now. How did he get there? He was dealt there. Okay. I don't remember what the trade was, but he was dealt there last season. And then they also have Tyler Seguin still at 35, so they have pretty good depth in their top 9. And their fourth line, Morgan Barron, Maverick Bork, and Connor Sheary. All right. So they're definitely not as strong offensively as the Leafs, which is kind of a bit scary that they might be able to beat us because of that. But their defensive core, I would say, is stronger than the Leafs. Definitely on the left side it is. Heiskanen, Harley, and Lindell, that's really good. The right side, Lyubushkin as a top 2 defenseman, Nils Lundqvist is okay, and Kairu's just generating enough growth to be an NHL defenseman right now. So the defensive core is kind of a work in progress, but Heiskanen obviously is insanely good. Same with Harley. I do also like Lindell. Goaltending, Ottinger obviously an 89 overall, so that's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be a good goaltending battle with Sorokin and Ottinger. And then Anthony Stolarz as a backup is a pretty solid one to have. He's only played 1 game in this playoffs, and he's got a shutout in it. So they literally could go to either goaltender if they want to. And then in terms of their scratch players, they have P.O. Joseph. They also have Axel Jonsson-Fjallby and Olli Lycksell. Okay, or Lycksell. I don't know how it's pronounced. Lycksell? I don't know. But, yeah, they have some solid depth. Like, P.O. Joseph is a really good depth defenseman to have. Like, I'm kind of surprised they're not putting him in the lineup over guys like Nils Lundqvist over Ilya Lyubushkin, especially. It's probably because he's a right-handed defenseman that he's all the way up there, but... Yeah, that's an interesting team. I'm curious on what the ratings are looking like going into this Cup Finals. Like, let's simulate here till game number 1, and let's just see what the ratings comparison is between our two teams. So we're at 91, 94, 89, and they are 93, 88, 89. So technically they beat us offensively, we beat them defensively, and we're tied in goaltending. I think this is definitely going to be a good matchup for sure, but obviously I'm a little bit weary considering they had a really mid-regular season, yet they made the playoffs, so it does scream like they're a cheese team, even though they're actually pretty good. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of New York Islanders franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Dallas Stars as we look to win our first Stanley Cup. And once we have that cup, almost in a sense, like we could start to tear it down afterwards, or we can keep going for cups until like Sorokin becomes like a guy that we can move out. Right now, obviously the cups are definitely, I think, the priority, and obviously the rebuild is something that could come in like year 10 if we want to, or something like that. But very impressed with how this team's done in this playoff so far, knocking out some pretty damn good teams. We just got to knock out Dallas, and we could get ourselves a Stanley Cup. So, Lenny Snadbello, and I'll see you guys next time.